Hello, BookTube. Hello, friends. Welcome to Lizziefaye Loves Books. I'm Elizabeth, and we are already well over halfway through the month of November, and it has been a whirlwind month, but I am finally coming to you with my October wrap-up. I had a decent reading month. I did not meet all of the goals that I wanted to, especially with my 60 by 60 challenge. I didn't really get to read anything for Victober, and, I just had to focus on getting ready for our yard sale, which we had on November 2nd. And I'm still way behind on videos. So after this video, at some point very soon, hopefully I will pull together all of the footage of my birthday and everything we did with that. We did not yet finish my little free library that we started working on and building on my birthday. We had just a lot of stuff going on with the yard sale the next day. And unbeknownst to me, there was a birthday surprise party at our church hosted by my husband and my daughter. And that was on Saturday night after we had just had a yard sale. So anyway, it has been a whirlwind of a month. I have been busy decluttering and cleaning in my house and binge watching a decluttering channel that I'll tell you more about later. And I have just had a super fun month so far in November, but I'm way behind on videos. So let me tell you about what I read in the month of October, and we'll go from there. So I finished a total of 28 books. Most of them were audio. 22 of them were on audio. 17 of the 22 books were for my 60 by 60 challenge. So for that challenge, I only finished a total of 47 books. There was another one that I started and absolutely DNF'd. I am not finishing that. I don't even want it in my house anymore. Then there was another one I DNF'd, but that one, I think you call it a soft DNF, where you say like, okay, I really do want to read this, but I just can't read it right now. So I have one in that situation. And a few of the others I just didn't get started on. There was one that was the beginning of a series, and I think that when I first put it on the list, I didn't think I could get the rest of them on audio, but now I see that you can. So I hated to start that series this late in the year when I could just put it off till next year, that kind of a thing. But anyway, I had thought maybe I would take the first week of November and get enough done that I could call it 60. But I got started binge watching this decluttering YouTube channel and working on decluttering my house and all of that, and that just kind of went out the window. I may even have to cancel my 25 by 25 project, which I announced that I was going to do for November and December. I've still got some time, but anyway, let's get back to what I read in the month of October. So I had 6 print books, and of the 6 print books, 3 were ebooks. Now, I've been enjoying reading more on my Kindle lately, and I've sort of fallen prey to the little challenges that they give you when you read every day or read, X number of days on your Kindle or on the Kindle app. And one of the challenges that came up in October was to finish an ebook from like one early day in October until the end of the month. Like you had just less than a month to finish a book. You didn't even have to start it then, just finish it. Well, I have been reading a box set of 12 books, and even though I've been finishing books within the box set, it doesn't register as a finish on Kindle until I finish that last book in the box set. And I'm actually on track to finish that one this month because there's another one of those little challenges going on right now for November. So I will finish that box set this month. But I wanted something that I could finish for that challenge. And so in my Kindle library already, I had one of the little canine suspense, romantic suspense books that was a novella, and it was like 0.5 in one of the canine series that I haven't read yet. So I read that one, and it was good. In fact, let me just go ahead and start with that one. It was by Dana Mentink, and she also wrote book 2 in the series. The series is the True Blue Canine Unit series. I don't think this one was ever published in physical form. It's just available on ebook. I've got, I think, all of the series right now, and here's one of them. This may be number 1, actually, Justice Mission by Lynette Eason. Anyway, these are on audio now, but the novella, the 0.5 novella is not, and the Christmas 2 novella bind-up that finishes the series is not on audio, but the rest of them are. So I will definitely plan on listening to this series in 2025, and I really did enjoy this point 5 book. I just thought it was excellent. It's set in New York, and I think this whole series is set in New York, so that'll be awesome. Anyway, then the other 2 books that I read on my Kindle were from the Garden Girls mystery series by Hope Callahan. I have been reading on that series for a couple of months now. The first series I started by her was the Cruise Ship Mysteries. I got up through book 5 and realized that book 6 also had the Garden Girls featured in it, so I went back to the first book in the Garden Girls series. The first 6 books in both series are in this 12-book box set that I have on my Kindle, so I am just finally getting all of these books read, and I've really been enjoying them. So I don't remember offhand the names of the books that I read in October. So here is the cover of the first one that I read in October. I believe this is book 4. And then here's the cover of the second one that I read in October. This is book 5. So now in the first half of November, I have read book 6 in the Garden Girls Mysteries. And now I am currently reading book 6 of the Cruise Ship Mysteries. So that will finish the whole box set for me, and then I can move on to one of the other box sets that I currently own in my Kindle library. That takes care of some of the cozy mysteries that I read, but in print I also read a book by an author that I know or that I have met since working at a used bookstore in my local area. This is Chain Linked by Liz Boger. This is the first book in the Moccasin Cove mystery series, and I loved this. I thought it was excellent. I rated it 5 stars, and I went ahead and bought the second book on my Kindle. So maybe that's the Kindle book I could read for next month. Anyway, Liz gave me this one, and Liz, if you're watching this, thank you so much. I thought this was an excellent book. The only thing that I noticed that I'm not usually a big fan of, but it was fine in this case, is when the main character has some internal dialogue that is shown on the page. I don't know, there's a lot of that, and I don't mind the internal dialogue, but sometimes it's really corny, and I was just like, so I was kind of rolling my eyes at some of her internal dialogue. But anyway, at least it was in italics, so you knew which was the internal dialogue and which was the actual dialogue. Anyway, that's just one of those things that I noticed that I'm not usually a big fan of, but in this case it was fine, and I just really enjoyed the book. I thought it was excellent, and for all of you cozy mystery fans out there, you can get this on Amazon. And while I appreciate Liz giving me this copy, knowing what I know now, I would happily have bought it. So, like I said, I did buy book 2, and I'm looking forward to reading it. Then I had one other mystery book, not a cozy mystery, but y'all know I have been really enjoying my Reacher series by Lee Child. And in October, I read Never Go Back. So I'm looking forward to getting to another one of those, although I have not picked up a Reacher book in November yet, because I just haven't been listening to audiobooks. So I might or might not get to one in November. I don't know. I am just hooked on watching decluttering videos right now, and that's where my mind is. But I definitely will go back and read some more Reacher. If not in November or December, definitely in January. And this is a series that I will put on my Serious About Series list for 2025, because I would like to finish it in 2025. I guess I didn't really give you a summary of all the genres that I read. So I mentioned mysteries, and I read 4 mysteries. 3 were cozy, and 1 was not cozy, so I've shown you those. I read 2 nonfiction books, both by the same author, and I read 1 romance, which I've shown you. That was the romantic suspense book. I read 1 middle grade book that was not for my 60 by 60 challenge, and then for my 60 by 60 challenge, there were 3 middle grade books. So a total of 4 middle grade books for the month. And then I read 2 historical fiction books that were connected to one of the 60 by 60 books I listened to last month But then for my 60 by 60 challenge, I also listened to 6 more. So a total of 8 historical fiction books for the month. And then for my 60 by 60 challenge, most of what I listened to, I would consider women's fiction or general fiction. And I listened to 8 books for my 60 by 60 challenge, and then one more Christmas/women's fiction book that was not for 60 by 60, but I was in my Audible Plus library listening to books for my 60 by 60 challenge. I noticed a few books that were in my Audible library that were going to be expiring from Audible Plus by or before the end of the month. And so I picked up a few at that point, and I went ahead and listened to some just so that I could get those for free. And it was kind of because of that I didn't get more done on my 60 by 60 list, but it's fine. I wouldn't change anything. I'm happy with what I read. So, let me show you the books that did not have anything to do with my 60 by 60 list, and then I'll go back and just show you the 60 by 60 books, tell you a little bit about them, but I will probably do some kind of a wrap-up for all the 60 by 60 books. And since I haven't finished the project yet, that may have to wait till January. But I'll tell you a little bit about each of them right now. But I don't want this to get too long because I've still got to get to the post office today. And we have church tonight. And before that, I'm going to run up to the library and help set up for a book sale tomorrow. So I've got a full afternoon. So anyway, let's get back to the wrap-up. So the 2 nonfiction books I read are by Gladys Taber. Now, I have been loving reading Gladys Taber books. I almost always put some kind of tabs in them so that I can go back and refer to my favorite parts. The one I read in October is the Still Meadow Daybook, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. It is set up much like the others that I've read, where she gives a chapter per month of the year. She doesn't usually start in January, though. She starts at whatever point she wants to start, and then she does a chapter for each month of the year. They're just slice of life, delightful. So then on eBay, I saw this one, and it's missing its dust jacket and everything, but it was a good price, and so I put it on my watch list, and the seller offered me an even better deal, and I could not pass it up. This is the Still Meadow album. This is fantastic because this has photos of all the places around, in and around Still Meadow, the house, the farm, everything. And then, you know, a caption about each photo. She's even got some of her grandchildren pictured there. And I just loved this. Oh, it was so good. I just savored it. I loved it. And I was excited to read 2 Gladys Taber books in the month. I had one middle grade book that was not for my 60 by 60 challenge, and I decided to jump back into reading some Newbery winners. Now, this is one that I had read before, but I didn't remember it. I decided that the next decade I will finish up is going to be the 2010s, or the 20 teens, and this is When You Reach Me by Rebecca Stead, and I did listen to it on a CD set from the library, so you can see the 2 different covers here. This is the traditional cover that I remember when I first read it, but then this is what the CD cover looked like. Anyway, I am actually listening to this again because I was finishing this up on the last day of the month. It was October 31st. We were, you know, getting ready for the yard sale on the 2nd. It was, you know, we had trick-or-treaters that come and all of that. My birthday was the next day, and I was trying to finish it up so that I could count it for October, and I just missed a lot of the ending, and I caught enough of it that I know sort of how it ends, but I missed some of the details. So this month I have been just, you know, putting the CDs in whenever I'm going to be in the kitchen when I think about it, and I've just been listening to it again, and I still have the 4th CD, which is the last one, to go to kind of finish reminding myself of that storyline and everything that happened. But the one thing that bothers me about this story is that there's a lot of stealing going on, and it's bothersome because the first thing that I noticed right off the bat is the main character's mother is the one doing the stealing. I think the author's trying to illustrate the fact that they're having some financial difficulties, and they're kind of squeaking by, barely making ends meet. She is apparently very good at brain teasers and everything, and so she is going to be auditioning for a game show, a TV game show, and they're hoping to win all this money. But meanwhile, she keeps bringing things home from work, like office supplies and markers and things like that. But it's still stealing, and it's not really addressed in such a way that you would think, oh, that's bad, she shouldn't do that. I don't know that there's ever any consequences for it. And that's too bad that that's in a middle grade book, that type of illustration. And then I think one of the main character's friends is a little bit sticky-fingered as well. So that's kind of an undercurrent of this book, is there's some stealing going on, and I wasn't a fan of that. But anyway, the story is kind of interesting. It has time travel element to it and everything, and it is enjoyable to read again. But the whole stealing thing was bothersome to me. Then I had 3 middle grade books for my 60 by 60 challenge. One of them, I guess, would be considered middle grade. It's a pretty thick book, but I believe it was written for children. It's Watership Down by Richard Adams, and I rated that 5 stars. I thought it was excellent. Another one I rated 5 stars is The One and Only Bob by Catherine Applegate. I had hoped to get to this one in a previous month because I had reread One and Only Ivan, but I just couldn't get to it. So anyway, I have now read it for the first time. I listened to it on audio, and I would like to read it in print. So I'm going to hang on to it and definitely reread this one at some point. Another one that I believe would be considered middle grade is a classic. This is Five Little Peppers and How They Grew by Margaret Sidney. This was okay, but I think there are other children's stories from that era that I have enjoyed more and have probably been more popular. I'm not saying that I didn't enjoy it. I did, but I was trying to kind of race through it, and so I probably didn't really give it the time that it deserved. But anyway, I got enough of the gist of it that it was enjoyable, but it didn't really blow me away. All right, so I had 2 historical fiction books that were not 60 by 60, although they are related to one. I had 6 that were from my 60 by 60 list. So the 2 that I listened to on Audible Plus that were related to one of my 60 by 60 books are Day by Elie Wiesel and Dawn by Elie Wiesel. These are considered books 2 and 3 of the Night trilogy. Night was one of my 60 by 60 books. I had listened to it in a previous month, and then saw that there were 2 more in that trilogy. And so because one of them was going to be expiring off of Audible Plus soon, I decided to go ahead and just listen to both of them because they're very short. Now, Night is a memoir. Day and Dawn are fictional stories, but based on things that took place during and after the Holocaust. So very interesting, depressing, I suppose, would be a good way of saying it. They didn't blow me away, but I'm still glad that I listened to them. And, if the Holocaust is a topic that interests you, then I would say for sure you would want to pick these up. Before I get to the 60 by 60, I'll just show you all that's left. But I have one that was not 60 by 60, but again, it was on Audible Plus, and it was about to expire, and it's by Melody Carlson. And let's just say I got a little head start on some Christmas reading, because this is called A Quilt for Christmas. This was delightful. I have loved just about everything I've ever read by Melody Carlson. And this was about a woman who was recently widowed and relocated and feeling alone. And she hears a knock on her door, and it's a little girl who I think lives across the hall in her apartment complex, and her mother is sick, and she comes asking for help. and eventually they make a quilt for her mother and all of this, and kind of pull together a group of people to help, and it was just very heartwarming, and I thought it was really, really good. So if you have never read any Melody Carlson, she's got some really wonderful Christmas books. One that I've read in the past that I would highly recommend is Christmas at Harrington's. I also really enjoyed A Christmas Joyride, and she's got quite a few. So I hope to read another Melody Carlson Christmas book this year, but if you have never read any by her, this one is a really good one to pick up. Let me go ahead and show you the rest of the 60 by 60 books that I finished in October. And then at the end, I'll show you the DNFs, as well as one I DNF'd for November, but I want to go ahead and just take it back to the library, so I'll go ahead and include it in this wrap-up. So this is in no certain order, and I did not sort them between historical fiction and general fiction, so I'm just going to show them to you how they are in the box. I did read The Nest by Cynthia D'Aprix Sweeney. I read Love in a Nutshell by Janet Ivanovich and Dorian Kelly. Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan. Waking Up in Dixie by Haywood Smith. A Mother's Gift by Charlotte Hubbard. Floribama Ladies Auxiliary and Sewing Circle by Lois Battle. This one didn't live up to the title. I love this title, but it didn't measure up as far as, in my opinion. Mrs. Lee and Mrs. Gray by Dorothy Love. Obviously, that one's historical fiction, as well as these two by Jennifer Chiaverini, Fates and Traitors. This was about John Wilkes Booth. Very interesting. This one, Enchantress of Numbers, was about the daughter of Lord Byron, and it was interesting as well. I listened to Portrait of a Sister by Laura Bradford. This may not have been on my original 60 by 60 list, but I added it. I listened to Still Alice by Lisa Genova. The Bride's House by Sandra Dallas. Alice's Tulips by Sandra Dallas. And True Sisters by Sandra Dallas. And then I also finished Thanks for the Memories by Cecilia Ahern. I will probably do a wrap-up of just this project, and I'll try to remember to tell you a little bit more about them then. I might even rank them, tell you how many. I gave 5 stars, you know, highest to lowest, that kind of thing. Anyway, though, but let me show you what's definitely so far been the lowest. I DNF'd this one. I was editing the video and realized I never said the title. The book I'm talking about that I DNF'd is Things I Want My Daughters to Know by Elizabeth Noble. Let me just tell you, I was incredibly offended by a sentence in this book. Yeah, I was just offended. And if you want to know a little bit more about why and what I thought about it and what the sentence was, I believe that I put it in my Goodreads review. So feel free to check that out. Meanwhile, when I come back and do a full wrap-up of all of this, I might go ahead and tell you then. But right now, I don't want to take time. But I did write it up in my Goodreads review, the part that I was offended by. And then this one I DNF'd, but not really because I wanted to, because I do want to come back and read this, but I'm going to have to read some of it with my eyes, because it is a large book of short stories by Louisa May Alcott. I did listen to some of these on audio, but the only audio version I could find did not have all of the stories in it. This one includes 12 thrilling tales, it says, and there were only about 6 in, or 6 or 8 in the version that I could find. And I was just having a hard time with it on audio anyway. Short stories are hard on audio because I don't always catch when one story ends and another one starts until all of a sudden I tune in and I'm like, wait a minute, what is happening here? These are not the characters I was listening to. So this is one I definitely want to read. I just could not listen to it on audio. And so at some point in my life, I'll have to go back and read it in print. And then another book I DNF'd just this month. This was our book club book for my mystery book club. And it's not really a mystery. A couple of the books that got put on our list were kind of overflow from our regular book club. And they just got put on the mystery list because they wanted to try to fit them in. This is more of a historical book, and I started it. I started it on audio. I'm not even sure how far I got. Probably not even as far as I got in that other book. and there was just too much of the F word, and it was such a disrespectful tone that I just said, I don't want to read this. And it was for Mystery Book Club, which I'm supposed to lead, but I messaged the library staff person who is our book club person, and I said, would you please lead this discussion, because I can't read this book. I'm not in the headspace to read it right now, and I just couldn't handle the language, and I just didn't want to read it. So she said, sure, no problem. So it turns out that most of the people who came to book club enjoyed the book. I think it is an important thing to read about. I just couldn't do it. It's Small Mercies by Dennis Lehane, and it's about school integration and busing and all of that. It's set in the 70s, and I remember hearing about that on the news. I grew up in a rural town where, everybody came to the same school, but I just remember hearing about, riots and things on the news and stuff like that. So I'm familiar with the topic, but I just couldn't read this book. I just couldn't make myself do it. So I'm going to send this back to the library at some point, maybe if I'm in a different frame of mind, but I really just don't want to. I'd rather read about the topic with less F word, really. So if anyone knows of a good book that talks about it and, there's less foul language, then let me know. I would be willing to read it. So I think that's everything that I read in the month of October. Thank you so much for watching. I will be back soon with all of the footage from my birthday and to share with you all of the fun stuff that happened to me and the gifts I got and all of that stuff. I have had I really did have a delightful 60th birthday, despite the fact that we had a yard sale the next day after my birthday. But thank you so much for watching. I will be back soon with another video. Meanwhile, I hope you're reading a good book. Have a great day, and God bless you.